Strike chaos deepening in France on the second day of the Euro 2016 football tournament. Pilots at the national airline have begun a 4-day industrial action. The walkout could cause travel misery for thousands of football fans. Air France has called off some 30% of its flights on Saturday. Protesting pilots want the government to cancel proposed labor reforms that would cost jobs. The pilots' union is one of many. Mounting pressure on the government, an ongoing walkout by sanitation workers has caused trash to pile up around the capital. Meanwhile, train services have only recently resumed after a 9-day stoppage. Security concerns are further complicating the situation, with police beefing up its presence nationwide. France is still under a state of emergency, triggered by last November's deadly terror attacks in Paris. Tony Gosling is an investigative journalist who joins us to tell us more about this. Tony Gosling, so I guess it's maybe a question of bad timing with the protests that are going on with this Euro 2016 football. But you can't really put the importance of either next to each other because they're both in different fields. But I would think that the strikes are more significant than this tournament. Do you think that François Hollande is not budging because of what? Because there's no reason. It's costing him money through the Euro 2016 as an example. On the other hand, many people are dissatisfied with the way that his economic policies are working.
Well, look, the decision not to drop these labour reform laws, even for a month or something, really shows what an appalling manager of France, François Hollande, is. You've got a massive international tournament going on, this Euro 2016, and he's allowing the country to be in the middle of a deep conflict between big business in France and some of the most important professions. People like the pilots, the train drivers, these are the people that keep the country moving. And the idea that he couldn't just have some kind of cancellation of this reform for a few months while this is going on is really totally irresponsible of Hollande. And I think it's the sort of leadership that we've got in the EU countries, in the West generally now, that they seem to be unable to rein back on anything except for their kind of neoliberal privatization program, even if the safety of thousands of people is at stake, as it could possibly be here in the Euro 2016 tournament.
You know, there's one thing that is striking here, and I'm wondering legally if it was something that did allow François Hollande to do. And when he put the country in a state of economic emergency just months ago, did that pave the way for him to actually push through these labor reforms without really getting an approval? Because it was done during this time. Is that in any shape or form related, or he just decided to do it like that?
Well, look, the state of emergency over there, which has given them extra powers to the government, has been extended and extended and extended, hasn't it? I mean, the Paris attacks took place on the Friday, the 14th of November. This is many, many, many months ago. And there's no excuse for a continuing state of emergency, it seems to me. There's also, it was the kind of beginning of a new era, it seems, of terrorist fear and real attacks. That attack on the stadium was a France versus Germany game, in the Paris attacks, the Stade de France in Paris. And actually, the suicide bombers changed their mind at the last minute, we're told, or apparently they went to try and get in without a ticket, which is obviously absurd. But several people died outside. Then we had, on a few days later, Tuesday the 18th of November, Germany versus Holland in Hanover. The game was completely cancelled, and there was apparently there was evidence or some warning of 3 bombs that the security services had evidence of in Germany, but there were no arrests and there was no evidence clearly presented to the public that that was real. So that game was just completely cancelled. Then you get the real terror in March this year in Baghdad, where 30 died at a football stadium and possibly more, I mean, many more injured. So real terror at a stadium in Iraq. And most recently, in May the 15th, in Britain, at Old Trafford, Manchester United versus Bournemouth. The whole game was cancelled, and yet they discovered that actually a guy who'd been doing an exercise the previous week had left a fake bomb behind. and so the whole game was cancelled. But what this does is it gets people who are involved in enjoying football, completely ruins their day, and it makes the terror real. So it's almost, I wonder whether some of these fake attacks are being stage managed, and the idea that people can come together to enjoy themselves, that there's a kind of psychological manipulation there where they're being drawn into this terrorist agenda and Islamophobia.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Tanya Gosling there, investigative journalist, talking to us from Dresden.